Good morning, this is Charlie with Only PVC Pyramids. This is a video in our continuing series on the fundamentals of pyramid science. This is part 3 of that series, and the title of today's video is The Aether Research of Hal Puthoff, Harold Aspden, and Bruce DePalma. In part 2 of this series, we discussed the research of John Keely, William Reich, and Victor Schauberger, 3 of the real giants from the 19th and 20th centuries in ether research. John Keely, for a brief review, had extensive workings with a water-powered engine that he had developed and tried to put into the market in the 1860s. And also did a lot of research in anti-gravity. William Reich, who's familiar to most of us, was the inventor of the Orgone generator. And finally, Victor Schauberger, an Austrian scientist, started out working with structured water, figured out ways, in fact, to spiral water to have it cut through steel, but also was forced to work for Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich developing anti-gravity machines. But today, again, we're going to be studying Harold Aspden, Hal Puthoff, and Bruce DePalma. The information that we're using today is coming from the book Divine Cosmos by David Wilcock, a free book on his website called divinecosmos.com. And again, the first scientist we're going to talk about today, there's a picture of him up now, is Hal Puthoff. Hal is a PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford University and currently is the president of the Institute for Advanced Studies in Austin, Texas, and was also an original member of the remote viewing program of the U.S. government. But to review his experiment, again, these are David Wilcock's words. One early example of proof for the existence of the ether comes from Dr. Hal Puthoff, a respected scientist from Cambridge University. Puthoff frequently mentions experiments from the early 20th century that were designed to see if there was any energy in empty space conducted before quantum mechanics ever existed. In order to test his idea in the laboratory, it was necessary to create an area that was completely free of air, a vacuum, and lead shielded from all known electromagnetic radiation fields by using what is known as a Faraday cage. This airless vacuum space was then cooled down to absolute zero, or minus 273 degrees centigrade, the temperature where all matter should stop vibrating and thus produce no heat. These experiments proved that instead of an absence of energy in the vacuum, there was a tremendous amount of it from a completely non-electromagnetic source. Dr. Puthoff has often called this a seething cauldron of energy in very high magnitudes. Since this energy could still be found at absolute zero, this force was dubbed zero-point energy, or ZPE, whereas the Russian scientists usually called it the physical vacuum, or PV. Recently established mainstream physicists John Wheeler and Richard Feynman have calculated that the amount of zero-point energy in the space volume of a single light bulb is powerful enough to bring all of the world's oceans to the boiling point. Clearly, we are not dealing with some weak, unseen force, but rather a source of almost impossibly grand power, which could have more than enough strength to sustain the existence of all physical matter. In the new view of science that is emerging from ether theory, all 4 of the basic force fields, gravity, electromagnetism, weak nuclear, and strong nuclear forces, are all simply different forms of the ether. More and more, the scientific community is being forced to accept that atoms and molecules are akin to candle flames, where the energy they release, such as the heat and light of the flame, must be balanced by energy that they absorb, such as the wax of the candle and the oxygen in the air. This candle analogy is a hallmark of Dr. Puthoff's model, which he uses to explain why the hypothetical electron does not radiate away all of its energy and crash into the nucleus. This seemingly perpetual motion within the atom is simply explained away as the magic of quantum mechanics in the mainstream view. So here's some fundamental work here that has helped to bring a rebirth of interest and knowledge and understanding of the ether into mainstream science. The next scientist results that we're going to talk about is Harold Aspden. And Harold is from Cambridge University and has a website called etherscience.org, which is just a treasure trove of information on the ether. Interesting sidelight, when I was looking up Harold to find some background information on him, I found out that Wikipedia in English has absolutely no information on Harold Aspden, but if you don't mind translating from Spanish, you can find it on Wikipedia. I wonder how that happened. Anyway, the Aspden effect is described below. Another example of latent forces existing in a system is found in the Aspden effect, discovered by Dr. Harold Aspden of Cambridge University. This experiment involved a gyroscope whose central wheel was fashioned from a powerful magnet. The normal amount of energy that would be required to rotate the gyroscope to a certain maximum speed was 1,000 joules. Like a glass of water being stirred up with a spoon, the rotation of the gyroscope would cause the etheric energy inside its central wheel to begin spiraling, and thus churning movement would continue inside the object even once Dr. Aspden brought the gyroscope to a stop. Surprisingly, for up to 60 seconds after Aspden's gyroscope stopped rotating, it would take 10 times less energy to return it to the same velocity as it had attained the first time. In other words, only 100 joules rather than 1,000 joules. This is another reproducible effect that has simply been ignored by mainstream science because it, quote, violates the laws of physics. However, with Kozyrev's work as a background, and we haven't discussed Kozyrev, but we will be getting to him shortly, we can hear the chuckles of Russian scientists as they read of Dr. Aspden's troubles in getting anyone in the West to acknowledge this effect. Wonder why he's not on Wikipedia? Our third scientist is Bruce DePalma. Bruce DePalma was a graduate of both Harvard and MIT, and you can find out a lot about him, including his famous N machine, on brucedepalma.com. And just like Dr. Aspden, don't look for any information about Bruce DePalma on Wikipedia in English, but you can find it in Polish if you can translate it. DePalma's spinning ball experiment is a perfect example of harnessing torsion waves by rotation and was discovered completely independently by Dr. Bruce DePalma, frequently cited by Richard Hoagland on the Enterprise Mission website. Within a complete vacuum, DePalma took two steel balls and catapulted them into the air at equal angles with an equal amount of force. The only difference was that one ball was rotating at 27,000 times per minute and the other was not. The rotating ball traveled higher into the air and descended faster than its counterpart, which violated all known laws of physics. The only explanation for this effect is that both balls are drawing energy into themselves from an unseen source, but the rotating ball is soaking up more of this energy than its counterpart, energy that would normally exist as gravity moving down into the earth. Now that's a really tough one to get your head around, and I continue to grapple with this because I'm used to thinking as we all are, of the center of the Earth being the source of the gravitational pull, pulling objects down from the Earth, not having it come from the ether above the Earth and be pressing down upon us. So from that direction. So we're going to think about that, and I do think about it long and hard to really get my arms around it. But this is a tremendously important experiment in terms of our understanding of the ether. So to summarize these three results, Hal Puthoff has shown us that there's a seething cauldron of energy in very high magnitudes that exists in the ether. And this energy can continuously power all matter, similar to the way that a candle flame is continuously powered by wax and oxygen. Harold Aspden has shown us that a gyroscope, which is rotated to a given maximum speed and brought back to rest, requires only 10% of the original energy expended to bring it back to the same maximum speed. And this proves the ether to be like a pitcher of water, that once it's stirred up, it only slowly returns to rest. And finally, Dr. Bruce DePalma, steel balls catapulted into a vacuum with the same force and the same angle will rise to different heights and travel different distances depending upon the amount of rotation of the balls. The ball that is rotating is soaking up more of the energy it encounters, energy that would normally exist as gravity. So here we have three more scientists, three more very, very interesting pieces of information about the ether and the effects of spin and torsion on those fields. I hope this has been helpful. We're going to continue this research in our next part of this series in part 4. And I hope that you'll come back and join us. As always, please tell your friends about onlypvcpyramids.com, our website, and this series, which can be found on Only PVC Pyramids on YouTube. Hope this is helpful, and you have a great day.